Hi, so today I'm at the Downtown YMCA again here in Orlando, Florida, and I'm speaking with Scott Horn. Hey, Scott, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How you doing, Sean?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really good. So we're talking about starting a running program today, and I think one of the most important questions to ask is, what do I need when I start a running program?
Bottom line, you just need to make sure you have a good pair of shoes. That's probably the most important thing. Every person's built differently, their biomechanics are different, and the way their foot lands on the ground is different. And you need a shoe that's going to mesh with how your foot interacts with the ground, either providing support or just cushioning, or a combination of both. You know, in the endurance world, we have the saying, cotton is rotten, so avoid any kind of cotton products. The thing with that is when cotton becomes wet or moist from your sweat, it adds more friction. So more friction in the shoe can lead with blisters with your feet. Moisture, if you have a top that's cotton and it absorbs all the moisture in the wintertime, which isn't so much of an issue here in Florida, but it can conduct the heat away from your body. And in the summertime, it acts almost like saran wrap. It just smothers your pores and your body's not able to cool itself. You want to use products that have a moisture wicking property to them. So anything that has a nylon, a polyester kind of blend to it, it's going to be a moisture wicking product. Heart rate monitors, GPS units, those are all fun toys that are fun to play with, but and they help you become more exact with your training, but they're certainly not needed initially. The biggest thing is getting shoes and then just starting slow. Start with a walk, add in a little bit of running.
Tell me a little bit, how would that information transfer to our friends that live in colder climates?
I'm a transplant from the Midwest, so I've experienced running in negative. You're going to be doing some layering. You're going to start with a nice moisture wicking layer, tight but comfortable, and then from there you'll kind of add on based on the weather. For running, you want to dress 20 degrees warmer than what it actually is. So if it's 30 degrees, you kind of want to dress what you think you wear when it's 50, because you'll start to warm up about 10 minutes into your workout. So after you have the base layer, you want to add some insulation on top of that. So biggest thing with cold weather is keeping your core warm and keeping your body dry.
I know there are a lot of folks that when I talk to them, they say, well, you know, I get so bored when I'm running. What are some of the things that people can do so that they can learn to really enjoy running?
Your effort level, how hard you're running. If you're huffing and puffing, you're going too hard, especially if you're a beginning runner. Kind of pull back your pacing so you can kind of have a nice comfortable breathing pattern you could possibly carry on a conversation with someone. That in itself will make the activity more enjoyable. You know, you're not out there torturing yourself. I'd say definitely get to the point where you can utilize some music in a safe manner when you're running. It's a huge bonus. Running in groups, you know, it's always a great thing to kind of run with other partners. It makes you accountable. You feel more obligated to show up. But at the same time, sometimes it takes more time in the day. So maybe that's not something you do every day. Maybe some days you just pop out the door and go for a run. And when those days occur, the biggest thing there is you want to start to plan your course. Make sure you have different courses lined up so that you're not always running the same route over and over and over again.
Let's say, you know, my goal is to just get out and learn how to run or get some exercise. Or maybe I've got a bigger goal, like running my first 5K or walking a half marathon. Can you give us some tips as far as setting goals?
Yeah, certainly. Ideally, if you're a beginning runner, and whether you're starting to run because you're trying to become more fit and get in shape, or you set a goal for yourself to run a 5K, a half marathon, or even a marathon, the starting process should still be similar. You want to start with frequent, short runs. You want to, and those runs may consist mostly of walking at first. Whatever ability level you're at is where you're going to start. So start with building up to 30-minute efforts of walking, and then from there you start to sprinkle in the running. The safest way to become a better runner, an efficient runner, is to obviously stay injury-free, and by doing that you want to do frequent running, and then you want to add the volume a little bit, and then way down the road you can start to add some speed work. But for most people that's never even needed. You can see years of gains in both your fitness and your racing times just by sticking with base aerobic running.
Having proper running form and utilizing proper posture is very important to having an efficient run or staying healthy.
Yeah, correct. I mean, really, aside from having great appropriate running shoes, you want to focus on your form. And there's four main points we like to talk about when we do our beginning run walk group here at the Downtown Y. And that is, you want to focus on your posture, nice tall posture. I want to focus on your lean. So when I say lean, I mean leaning from your ankles, not from your hips. So if you're standing straight and you start falling forward, you feel your big toes start to dig into the ground. That's the lean you want. So basically you start to fall, and what your running will be is a controlled fall. You'll just have your foot strike keeping you from actually hitting the ground. So as I started with, we have posture, we have lean, you have your cadence, which is how many times your feet will hit the ground within a minute. Ideally, through research, the most efficient cadence is 180 foot strikes per minute. That's 90 for your right and 90 for your left. So you want to make sure you're hitting in that range. So a nice test I like to do is count your foot strikes for 20 seconds, times it by 3 to see where you're at. You want to be in that 90. The metronome you can get one that clips to your belt, or you can get an app on your phone, iPhone. You get a metronome app, and you can even get some music that has that cadence, the beat per minute laced into it, so you can kind of keep your foot strike bent.
Some good things we can do to warm up before we go out for a run?
Yeah, certainly. The biggest thing is you want to structure your run so that you do start out nice and easy. Start with just a quick walk, 1 to 2 minutes, and then kind of slowly build pace from there. And based on how your body feels, there's days that things aren't going to go well. You want to go easy on those days. Now before that, you want to do some movement prep to get you to wake up the muscles that you're going to utilize for running. So that entails your hip flexor, your calves, your glutes, your piriformis area. All those things need to be kind of woken up. That way when you start off on your run, you're ready to run with good form, and you're not still trying to find your way. So a couple of simple exercises I do for that before every run. I make sure it's nice and quick. So we're talking a couple minutes here. That way it's easy to get done. We have enough going on in our lives already. So what I simply will start with is a backwards lunge with a twist, and I'll do 10 on each side. I'll just keep rotating, right, left, right, left. So that simply is a backwards lunge, raising the arm up in the air, and then twisting. You open up this whole hip flexor area. Come back, and again. Twist again. And we're just going to cycle through until you can get 10 on each side. And then from there, I'll transition into a basically just a small knee hug, hamstring stretch. Just pulling the knee into the chest. Pull the knee into the chest. Biggest thing, making sure that foot is flexed at 90 degrees. And even from there, you can even do a raise on your calf to kind of start to wake your calves up at the same time.
What does that look like from the side?
From the side, you're simply just hugging that knee as much as you can. And if you want to incorporate the calf raise, bring this in, lift up, down, in, up, and then down. And then finally, one of the better stretches I enjoy, definitely because it works the piriformis and your glute area, is doing just a crossover lunge. So I'm going to cross over my left leg over my right, and you're going to step in front of your center of gravity. So when your foot lands, it's going to be about 2 feet or a foot in front of your back foot. And then from there, we make sure our hips are squared up, facing forward. And then you start to lunge down, bending at both legs with all the weight on your front leg. Come back up, cross over the other side, square up the hips, bend down. And when you're bending down, you're doing a squat. So all the movement needs to come from the hips, just like you're sitting in a chair. So backward, hooking from the side, cross over, square up the hips, and then lunging down. And it's stretching out this whole entire area, which a lot of runners tend to develop tightness. So that's definitely another one to incorporate. And we're going to do 10 on each side. We'll get through that. So once you're done with the run, you always want to finish a run with a nice, easy cool down. So that usually starts about maybe 5 minutes before the run ends, at least, at the minimum. You want to start bringing the pace down, letting the heart rate fall. And I usually finish up with a couple minutes of walking. From there, just a simple light stretch of some tight areas, your calves, your quads, those are things you can kind of work on. If you have specific injuries you're dealing with, you want to get more specific in that, but this is kind of just a more general kind of stretching. And like we talked about, doing a simple quad stretch is a nice one to utilize. It's going to stretch out your hip flexors and your quad. The biggest thing with this is you want to make sure you're contracting your glutes or your butt basically, and when you do that, it allows the front half of your body to relax more. You can stretch that more.
Now, are you tightening the glute on the side that you're pulling?
You're going to tighten simultaneously, so you're just kind of clenching, and that's going to help engage your glutes and allow it to stretch out. It's easier to kind of just try and do it both at once than it is to try to isolate it.
Okay.
Then from there, you can do a nice standard calf stretch. So either using a curve or leaning against the wall, just stretching the calf out. And then another thing too, just kind of just bending over, just letting your body kind of hang, so it starts to stretch out the hamstrings. Those are things you can do. I'm a big fan of the foam roller. A lot of times I'll use that in place of stretching unless I have a specific issue I'm trying to deal with. And the foam roller is this long cylindrical item you may see around here at the downtown runner. You're going to want to make this your best friend. I spend probably 5 minutes on it each night, and it really helps keep you in a nice kind of relaxed system I utilize will focus on the right leg, left leg, and then I hit the back. So all you're doing is basically rolling back and forth, putting pressure, and you're looking for tight areas. Anywhere there's some painful areas, that's good and bad. It's good because now you've identified a tightness, and it's bad obviously because you do have a tightness there. So you want to just kind of focus on those areas, rolling back and forth. So I'll do my calf, then I'll move up to my hamstrings. Then big for runners, I'll roll over on my side, do the IT band, back and forth. And this whole system should only take about 3 to 5 minutes. And then roll over my front and do my quads, the flexors. And then I'll come back, cross my leg over my other knee, and start rolling out your glutes and your piriformis area. And you want to repeat that for both legs, and then I finish up with just a nice back pull. Keeping yourself somewhat supported so you don't stress your back too much. And just rolling back and forth up and down the spine. After about a week or two of doing this, you'll start to notice a lot less aches and pains, and just feel a little bit more free. It's a great thing to utilize, and it doesn't take a lot of time.
We talked about a lot of things. We talked about form, we talked about warm-up, proper clothing, avoiding distractions. I did want to touch base on just a couple things regarding the form. One of the tools that I utilize that helps me is I always want to try to envision and get myself mentally prepared for my run as well, and not be over technical, but you can utilize a wall, you can use a desk, a table, a chair. I kind of put my foot at the base, and then I take the other foot and go about halfway back on my foot, on the first foot, and then line them together, and then I lean until my waistline is making contact with the desk, table, or chair. If I'm not utilizing that, if there's a wall, I want my forehead to be just barely making contact with it, and you can brace yourself against it. And this gives me pretty much the proper exercise. I love to be able to do them in front of a mirror. And if I have an ability to actually do any kind of warm-up drills, if I can see myself in the mirror, I can actually look at my form, I can make sure that I'm aligned properly, I can make sure that I'm not over-pronating, I can see if my lean is proper, I can actually learn better the different exercises. And once I can visibly see them and physically see what it feels like to be in that position, it's easier for me to learn and adapt so that when I'm not looking in the mirror and I just go out to run, I have access to a room that's loaded with mirrors. But if you do, it's really a great place to really kind of watch yourself. Watch yourself run in the mirrors, identify if you're running properly, if you need to make some minor tweaks. I'm going to make a quick run and back. I'm going to see my form going into the mirrors. I'm going to watch my form on the sides coming back to make sure that my lean is proper and that my cadence is where I want it to be.
I think it's really important that when you're training to mix things up, make it different so that you don't get bored, you stay stimulated, and it's got to be fun.
I have people all the time asking me about different products, and services. Where do I go to get my bike tuned up? Where do I go to buy those shoes that you run in? What do you use for pain management? Asking me questions about nutrition. So I decided maybe we should do a little bit of product review as well. And so I'm going to start incorporating that. And we're going to start with different tools that you need when you go running. Well, I hope you found this edition helpful. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the blog. Remember, a healthy heart equals a happy mind.